So I'm really excited about the topic today. It's come up in a couple of our courses, and where I mentioned gravity forms, and a number of people either at the moment or later said, would you please do a webinar on gravity forms? And so we're going to do that now. I love gravity forms. To me, gravity forms is such a great tool. Makes my life so much easier when it comes to Infusionsoft and WordPress sites. But it hasn't always been that way. In fact, it's really only been fairly recently. Not that I didn't like gravity forms before, but I didn't really know how to make gravity forms and Infusionsoft work together. And once I got that figured out, now gravity forms is quite frankly one of my go-to tools. So I'm excited to share a little bit of that with you. So there is a handout. It's not quite as, there's not as much to it as we had in the PHP classes. Pretty simple handout today. I will put this link in the chat box so that you guys can get to it. It was done just at the last minute, so if you tried to go to it as from the email that I sent you, you probably got an error message. That's because I hadn't saved the bit.ly link yet, but hopefully you all can get to it now. And I'll just start off by talking through. I wish I could get rid of that. I probably can, but anyway, just talking off the handout. I see you guys are all piling in there. Okay, great. For those of you who haven't been on the PHP calls, by the way, as always, just ask your questions in the question box. I always give people the option of raising their hands if they feel like they could ask their question better by being unmuted, and then over just speaking your question. So far, nobody really takes me up on that, but want to let you know that it is actually an option for you. So gravity forms. Well, let me do this. Let me ask you a question. How many of you use gravity forms or feel like, well, actually, maybe let's even start before that. How many of you are WordPress users, either on your own website or for a client's website? How many of you have a website that you work on fairly regularly that uses WordPress? Yeah, raise your hand. There's a little, you can either raise it or just put it in the questions. Everyone looks like they're mostly putting it in the questions. Okay, a little of both. Okay. Okay, good. So the first thing that you should know about Gravity Forms is that Gravity Forms is a WordPress plugin. Doesn't work without WordPress. So but I would say that even if, given the percentage of the world's websites that run on WordPress, even if yours is not currently on WordPress or you don't have a WordPress client, the odds are pretty strong that you will at some point. And I would say, too, that just the concept or the logic of what we're doing, I still think is useful for you to know and hear, because while it might not necessarily apply for you to gravity forms, just kind of thinking through the workflow and how we're doing these things might help you figure out something similar on a website or elsewhere. So I don't think it's a total waste, even if you're not currently working with gravity forms and or WordPress. So let me ask another question. Same thing, either raise your hand or put it in the questions, probably better. How many of you are familiar with gravity forms and either use them or have used them before? I'm a little slower to respond now. Come up, here we go, here we go. Some yeses, some nos. A couple years ago. Want to, okay. Okay. All right. So mostly no's. Interesting. Okay. All right. Clear all that. Good. All right. So this is going to be really good. I asked you that because I wanted to know how much I should go into the gravity forms themselves. Um, and so that helped a lot. I actually am going to spend a little bit of time showing you what you can do with a gravity form in Infusionsoft, and then we'll talk about how we move information back and forth between Infusionsoft and gravity forms. Okay, so with all that out of the way, so gravity forms is a WordPress plugin, and it only works on WordPress sites. And so and it is just that it is a form builder. So here, if I go to a WordPress site, so this is just so you know, I'm going to be working today on one of our development mirrors that we have of one of our client sites. So I'm not actually working on their live data, but it is an exact replica that we use for development work of their site. And so I can show you, because one of the more interesting things that I've done with the gravity form is this one that I'm going to show you. But so here I am, so gravity forms, if I say new form, it's a form builder. But what happens when you build the form is that all of the entries or information that get entered into the form is stored there on in the database on your WordPress site. So that creates a couple of really interesting use cases for a gravity form. First of all is this idea that I don't know about you, but very often I find myself collecting information that I don't necessarily need to display within Infusionsoft. I don't need to use it for a merge field. I don't need for the my clients to be able to necessarily see it, and yet they want to, for one reason or another, they need to collect it. So maybe they need it for once a year census reporting, for example. Another example that has come up here recently is a client wants a member directory. And because most of their members work at home, they want to be able to display a different address on the member directory than what is in Infusionsoft for the billing address. And they don't want to mess up the billing address. And yes, we could use address 2 or 3, but since the only place that that address is ever going to be displayed is on the website, there's really no point in putting any of that in Infusionsoft when we can just collect it on a gravity form and store it in gravity forms and never have to actually even move that stuff. So, you know, the beauty of doing that is when you are storing information in gravity forms that you don't need, it saves your custom fields. And I don't know about you, but for me, that's pretty much always an issue. So I'm always thinking about, you know, what data can I offload from Infusionsoft because I don't need it to be in Infusionsoft. I still want to get to it. And I either do that, I do that a lot in a MySQL database if I'm not in WordPress. But for those of you who aren't comfortable writing information to a MySQL database with code, this is a super easy kind of shortcut way to get that information in there. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I love gravity forms. The second reason why I love them is, you know, I don't think any of us love Infusionsoft forms. You know, they're not pretty. They're not, you know, they're handy because the information goes right into Infusionsoft, but you know, they don't have a tremendous amount of functionality built into them. You can't really do a lot of cool things with them. And so that's where gravity forms comes in, because that's actually the opposite. With gravity forms, and I'm about to show you some of the things here, you can create all kinds of complex forms with conditional logic that does some really, really neat things. So it really gives you the full capabilities that you're about to see, but and still working with Infusionsoft. So that's my second big reason. And then to the pretty thing, the nice thing also about Gravity Forms is that for the most part, a lot of themes, Woo themes and some of the others, now they actually even have CSS written in their themes that picks up the selectors of a Gravity form. So they are almost pre-styled. And the way that they built Gravity forms, if you've got any form styling at all, generally that also kind of gets picked up right out of the box. So without even having to do anything to make your forms look nice, they generally look pretty good, and with a little bit of TLC, they look really good. So you can have a really complex form with tons of information, tons of fields, doing all kinds of crazy things, not taking up your custom fields, and they look really, really sharp and really professional and really nice. So to me, those are some of the core reasons why I choose to use a Gravity form over a Infusionsoft form. Now, Gravity Forms, interestingly, is a plugin, and because it's become almost, even though it's a plugin, it's really sort of become like a platform, if you will. It's used that way for so many things. So people have written a ton of WordPress plugins for the Gravity Form plugins that extend it. So if you just go to the WordPress plugin directory and do a search on Gravity Forms, so this one is right. The Infusionsoft plugin is right at the top. Interestingly, what we're going to be talking about today is how to not use this, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But the rest of these are, so here's a Salesforce add-on, PayStation, WP Job Manager, in Spanish, eWay, some of these I don't even know. Here's one for Stripe. Here's one that, is a directory, Constant Contact, a user front end. You can see there's pages and pages and pages of these, reject disposable email, etc. All add-ons for Gravity Forms. So not only are they powerful to begin with, but there's all kinds of ways to make them do almost anything that you can imagine. Now, on top of that, the Gravity Forms folks themselves make some add-ons, and these, so there's a free, I should show you this just so you know. I'm gonna open this in another tab. You know what the other thing is? I have my fingers crossed because I have been having the worst internet problems today. So everything that works today is going to be just gravy, because nothing has worked all day. So anyway, Gravity Forms aren't cheap, but to me this is like, this is just a cost of doing business. Their personal edition is $39 for one site. Now that's for, once you'll have to buy it once. Your forms don't stop working once your year is up, but you don't get any more support or updates after that. The business license supports 3 sites. You get the basic form add-ons, and the developer license is for unlimited sites, and you get all of the add-ons and priority support. So I have a developer license, and so I'm going to show you the add-ons. In fact, if it will work, I can show them to you right here in the site. So right here under forms, and you go over here to add-ons. This wasn't working earlier in the day, so I was I was hedging my bets by having it up on their website, but it's better if I can show you here on the site. Come on. So not only is my internet slow today, or intermittent is the better word, but then now I've got I should turn some things off, right? I got a bunch of things running. Yeah, see, it's not coming up again. That's because of my internet connection, not because of Gravity Forms. So I'm just going to show it to you on their website. Sorry about that. But here's their list of add-ons. And you can see these are the basic ones that come with the business license. And these are pretty good, right? There's an Aweber add-on. Hopefully we don't necessarily need that. Campaign Monitor, MailChimp, and CAPTCHA, which is one of the CAPTCHA services. But where it gets really interesting to me is over here with these advanced add-ons. So what they do is there's a number of payment gateways. You saw the Stripe add-on. Here's Authorize.net, which is, a lot of us have Authorize.net. So you can actually create order forms, really nice order forms, right here in a Gravity form. And then, for example, use the API to write the order to Infusionsoft. You can actually process it and then just write it and put the payment in if you chose to. Or you could go the other way around, put the order form in, and then send it via API to Infusionsoft and let Infusionsoft process it. Here's a coupons add-on so that you can do discounts. Here's FreshBooks, PayPal, Payments Standard, Payments Pro. Here's a polls add-on. Again, these are Gravity forms written. A quiz add-on. This one's really cool. This one allows people can actually write and their signature on a form and it or one of those fakey signatures, either way, but it captures it and it stores it with their form, so you can create contracts and bids and proposals this way. Here's a survey add-on. And you can actually I do surveys all the time without even messing with this add-on, as long as they're simple ones. But if you look at the documentation, you'll see that this just adds a lot more power to your survey, more powerful features, an SMS, notification of form submissions. You can, this one turns Gravity forms into a user registration form. And then finally, they've also got a Zapier integration as well. So there's just all these cool functionality enhancements that you can do. And if you just think about it, a form is an absolutely core building block of what you do on the web. It's certainly what we do with Infusionsoft. We're constantly trying to bring in information, process it, and then use it to do other things with. So it only stands to reason that a form builder like Gravity Forms could potentially be a great tool for us. Probably don't need that, so I'm going to get rid of it. So that just kind of gives you a sense of kind of what's out there. Now let me show you something that I did, and and the reason I'm doing this is and I don't pretend to be like a Gravity Forms ninja by any stretch of the imagination, okay? There are people out there that build like the most amazing stuff out of Gravity Forms. That's not me. But I just want to show you kind of what's possible. First of all, this didn't use any premium add-ons. This was done with a $39 personal account and not even any API. No API. And I'll show you. So it's actually over here. Let me get rid of this. Bring this over here. So the use case for this is the United States Polo Association, who I do a lot of work for. And I'm a member. For those of you who don't know, I play polo. They have a lot of people don't know this, but actually we have a couple hundred interscholastic and intercollegiate polo teams. And so the II program, every year, all of the colleges and high school teams have to submit an intent to compete form. And until I got them on Infusionsoft, USPA was ridiculously married to paper forms that they pushed around, and it was crazy. And so we're slowly dragging the oldest team sport in the world that dates back to before Jesus BC into the modern world. And so this was one of the first things that I did to really kind of help the II program. So there's this rush of forms that comes in all at once from the II kids. And actually this is a mirror site, which is why that is broken, but it's kind of in our way. So just give me a second. Let me see if I can oh well. It's not too bad. We'll stick with this. So this is actually a gravity form right here. This is a gravity form that best way to show you. No, I'm going to show it to you from here first, and then I'll show you the back end. So what happens is a college or a team can have multiple teams, right? They may have a collegiate men, a collegiate women's. On interscholastics, they can have more than one team. So they may have 3 girls teams, and because you can only have 3 kids on a team, well, plus some backups. So they may have 2 or 3 interscholastic opens. So the first thing is, a lot of times they're submitting multiple teams all at the same time. They used to do that one team per form. So the first thing we said is, all right, well, let's not do that. Let's just put them all on one form. So the first thing I do is I just say, I have a little drop down here that says, how many teams are you going to register today? And if there's one, then you can see the next thing it does is it says, okay, well, then give me your advisor's details. But if I say more than one, so let's say I say 3, then this is gravity forms, okay? Changing in the background, it says, oh, 3. Now, because this is conditional logic at work, okay? It says, oh, if, and I'll show you this in the background, if that value is greater than 1, then show this field. But if it's 1, hide this field. So since I changed it to 3, it immediately flips around and says, okay, so do all the teams have the same coach advisor contact info? If I say yes, it's going to just say, okay, well, then give me that advisor right up front and then just the details for each team. But if I say no, you'll see it's going to change. Oh, okay, now the form has to ask for the advisor info with each team. Does that, you guys see how that's changing depending on what I'm asking? So that's an example of conditional logic at work. So let's change this back and say now we're going to have 2 teams and it's the same advisor. Okay. So yeah, you guys, you haven't seen nothing yet either. I mean, like but this is pretty good stuff. So I'm going to say, yeah, I've got 2 teams. I know that's in the way. Sorry about that. And so my coaches, my coach is, my coach is, see, I told you I can't type. I'm doing an okay job, I think, talking, but the typing is where it starts to get rough. My fingers are just not cooperating. And by the way, you can make fields required, of course. You can make it so that you aren't allowed to put duplicate entries in the database and all kinds of crazy things. I'm going to leave those blank. So team number 1 is, we'll just call this the Mighty Ducks, and they're going to be a collegiate men's team, and then we'll make these guys like Fighting Irish, and we'll make them a collegiate women's team, even though technically those are 2 different schools. But anyway, you get the idea, okay? And then we need to know about their horses. That's what a string is, all of your horses are called your string. It says that, it wants to know how many horses do you have available for home games, because a lot of the teams, especially when you're traveling cross country, they can't take their own horses. So the part of the II program is that they use each other's when they travel. So, how many horses do we have available for home games? How many for away games? Or can you transport your own horses? Okay, fine. And then here, again, here's going to be a conditional. Do you have facilities available to host an II tournament? Yes. Oh, you do? Okay. No, I don't. Don't even bother showing that. Yeah, we do. How many horses do we have on site? Well, we have, 45 horses. Is our arena covered? Yes. How many visitor horses? I don't know, 12. And the size of our arena is 300 by 150, whatever. Okay. Now, here's the other place where I think it gets kind of interesting. So the issue with this program, let's see if I can make this bigger. Okay, was that the kids have 2 ways of paying their fee. One way is they can either sell or submit or get their parents to submit, is just what happens a lot, an ad in the II magazine in lieu of their $100 fee. It's $100 per team. So if you have four teams, then you're going to have, you got to come up with four ads. By the way, did I put in two teams? I did. Yeah. Okay. So two teams, they're going to either have to come up with two ads or they're going to have to pay $200. Now in the past, again, this was paper and they were sending checks and the II people were having to chase down, the teams because they weren't paying their bills. And so we did away with that. Right. So what we said was, if what I say is I'm going to submit ads, okay, well, that just nothing happens, right? When I hit submit, it just says thank you very much. It dumps them in a campaign. This year we didn't do a lot in terms of chasing down the ads with the campaign because this kind of spun their head. Next year though, we're going to do that. We're going to automate the back end of that process. But what we did do, which we had never done previously, is now we just make them pay by credit card. So you'll notice what happens here is if I say we'll pay $100 per team by credit card, again, this is not coding. This is stock $39 gravity forms. Some of the things that they have, because they know you're going to create order forms with it, is they have what are known as pricing fields, right? And so this is a calculated field that says, oh, okay, since you're going to pay, we want you to know that by credit card now, $100 magazine fee times two teams, total due on next page, college student. Like we're about to ask you to get out a credit card. And when you hit submit, guess where it goes? It goes to an Infusionsoft order form. So the redirect, because we know that what they're doing is an order form for an II magazine fee with the quantity of 2 already filled in because it is up here in the query string. And I'll show you how we make those, because that's a primary way that we move things. One of the ways that we can move things between Infusionsoft and Gravity Forms. So now here I am. I'm the team captain or the team's advisor, and I sit here and I, put my credit card information. I hit place order, and my team is done. The staff never had to call me, chase me down, handle any sort of paper. They handled a record number of, I'm pretty proud of this, they handled a record number of registrations because our IA program is growing so fast this year, and they did it in one day as opposed to 3 weeks last year. So that's the difference. It's something this simple can make. And really, there's just like, could we have done that with Infusionsoft forms? Sure, we could have. Where you like just go from form to form to form. But would it be nearly as elegant and easy as that? No. So that's kind of my little example of a gravity form at work. So let me quickly show you the back end of that, and then we'll get to the how do we make Infusionsoft and gravity forms work together. Thank you, Richard. So here is the form. Again, this is not their site. This is the mirror site. Got to make sure. Did you guys ever see Apollo 13, where when they get sleepy, he puts the big sticker across the top of the button that says, I forget what it was, like, says, don't touch the big, that's how I feel like, oh, make sure you're not on the USPA site messing something up. Okay, forms. And so here's our intercollegiate interscholastic intent to compete. And so this is what it looks like on the editor. And this thing is so easy. What you do is, here's all your fields over here. So you have standard fields, single line, text, paragraph, multi-select, drop down, blah, 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 right? You guys are used to that. Now, and here are your advanced fields. Now, these are the ones that come, these right here come standard, email, file upload, website address, CAPTCHA, everything up to down to CAPTCHA is standard with a personal license. And then these are actually some of the add-ons, the list, quiz, signature, and and survey. And I'll show you the quiz in a minute because I'm going to use that as one of my examples. To put, if for those of you who've never used gravity forms, it's so simple, right? What you do is it's going to put it at the bottom. If I just hit one of these, I click it, and well, actually that assumes, there we go, that my internet works. So it drops the field in here, right? Whatever kind you want, and then you just expand it, and now you've got all these different possibilities here. You can relabel it, you can add descriptions, so that's how you get text around it. Is it required? Is it duplicates? And then here, validation messages. So if you want to override the error, and then this is nice because each one of these you can give it a class, and then style it with CSS. I also have a little add-on here that I use. It's a little plugin called the CSS Ready, or I forget what it's called, but it actually, CSS Ready class. I actually can apply some really nice styling to it directly, just with this little plugin, by clicking one of those buttons, and then it automatically formats it for me correctly. Who's it visible? And then now here's where we start to get to the power stuff. Number one is, and I'm about to show you this in an example, allow field to be populated dynamically. Okay, so this is how we can pass information to these forms to pre-populate them. We give it a parameter name, right, which is like what's the parameter name in the query string that's going to be coming over. So that's important. And then all that whiz-bang stuff that you just saw is done with these conditional logic deals. So, you've got show and hide. This field, if any or all, which should be very familiar to us, of course, because it's very similar to our decision diamonds and stuff, right? I mean, basically, this is a gravity. This is a decision. A gravity forms decision diamond, where it's more about show or hide, right? And you can add multiples of these. So it's like if all of these, you can put 5 criteria and so forth. So that's kind of where the power in the fields are, and you just keep stringing these things together over, but it's really not that long of a form. You can put, by the way, page breaks and section breaks and all kinds of stuff in here. It's not as long as it looks, of course, because so many of the fields are hidden. It's the 6 teams that makes that form look pretty long. There's also some things you can do with posts, where you can put like post titles and things in there, which I don't really use that much. And then here's your pricing stuff: product quantity, options, shipping, total. If I had added in some of the coupons and payment gateways, then we'd have more stuff here, but I don't have any of those enabled on this site. But it's literally as easy as clicking and then configuring and then dragging. That's the other thing. These fields all drag so that you can, here's a spacer, so that, again, this should look familiar, just like our spacer in email builder or what have you. Peter wanted to know what's the plugin for the CSS that I was showing you guys. I won't forget, Peter. I'll come back to it. I'll look it up. I believe it's called CSS Ready, but I just want to confirm it. I'll look in the plugins here in just a second. So that's good. So that's the form. So let me tell you let me show you how the back side of it works. So this is where when you go to I'll leave this page. I don't want any of those changes. So your form settings, is there anything we need to talk about in here? Pretty much no. Confirmations. This is what we know as the thank you page. They call it confirmations. Okay. Now, but the thing is, here we can have multiple confirmations. I have 2 here. So one is, well, we have the default, but then I'm actually using these 2. So watch this. So if I go and edit this one called Submit Ads, what this does is this is the equivalent of a Infusionsoft thank you page. You know how you just put some text in there and it says thank you, you'll hear from us shortly or whatever. So if you say text, that's exactly what you get when the form submits. It's going to say thank you. We're looking forward to a great II season. That's it. Now, of course, right? You can also send them to a page, which is just your home page or whatever you want, or a thank you page. But if you do, and I'm about to show you, if you do redirect, well, I'll show you. Let's just stick to text, okay? So what I did here is I said, now this is the conditional logic for the thank you, okay? This is something that I have to do. I do this all the time in Infusionsoft, but I do it with code. And Gravity Forms has this built right in, a different thank you page depending on what they did or what they bought, right? So in Gravity Forms, I say use this confirmation if all of the following match. If how will you pay your magazine fees is we will submit an ad in lieu of the $100 II magazine fee, then use this confirmation. Okay, and then of course there's all the notifications and stuff, which will, is going to be similar to what you get. You can set up on an Infusionsoft form. So no point in looking at that. So let's go back to the other one. So the other one is pay by credit card, and you can see out here what I did. So here I said my redirect URL is the form, the order form. Okay. I said, and this is redirect now, right? This is what I chose here, redirect form to a URL. And then I can check this box that says redirect query string. So the query string that you construct here is what is going to get passed to wherever you're sending them. So in this case, now they have this little builder for their query strings because their syntax for fields is kind of weird, actually. But it's okay because they've got this little sample here of what you would put in here, phone equals, and then this, and email equals. But this is exactly like our merge fields thing, right? If you click on it, it's going to give you the little field name. So I just messed that up, but anyway, get out of there. So that's how you build your query strings, and then say, use this confirmation, because what's in mine, by the way, is quantity. How many teams are you registered? Yeah, I got an extra one. I forget what that's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to look like that. Quantity equals whatever's in how many teams are you registering today. Okay, so that is the merge that goes into quantity equals. Okay, and then I know then that the order form is looking for quantity, so that's why I named it that, and that's how I'm pre-populating the order form. So this is, if how will you pay your magazine fees is we're going to pay by credit card, then do this. So this is conditional logic, a decision diamond, basically, for what do you do on the thank you page, or the Gravity Forms equivalent of a thank you page. And then you just save that, and then as each person submits their form, then it's going to execute all these things. So again, there was no other than a query string, which I don't consider, that's not API or PHP, right? Other than a query string, I did that entire thing and got them into Infusionsoft and so forth without any API whatsoever. Okay. And I think that's pretty good. If you can do that, that's not bad. So back to, let me just find for you the name of that plugin. I'm pretty sure it's like CSS Ready. It's built specifically for Gravity Forms. Here it is. It's called the Gravity Forms CSS Ready Class Selector. I'll put it in chat. Except I left R off the end. Okay. Okay. So that's your little kind of background tour of Gravity Forms. Okay, question. So you use the query string for basic info to get paste, and for more info you do post. Nope, we're getting to that. You're ahead of me. We don't do post. I'll show you. So query string, the limit on a query string is 2048 characters. So even though it feels kind of weird to put something that big in a query string, you can put a lot in a query string if you want. But I'll show you how I deal with big batches of information as opposed to as opposed to, and or information I don't want to pass publicly in a query string, would be the other reason. So we'll do that in just a second here. So I don't know that I'm going to need that anymore, but I better leave that open. All right. So let's go back to our form. All right. So let's talk first about actually going this way, Infusionsoft to Gravity Forms. So the main thing that we're really talking about here is pre-populating a form. And I probably, don't need to tell you why you would want to pre-populate a form, but I'll just remind you. There's two big reasons that I can think of right now, and I'm probably missing a few. But the two big ones for me are, of course, convenience for my user. If I already know who you are because I sent you an email or you were at my website and logged in, then, why am I making you fill the form out twice? That's pretty, we all know that. But, the other thing is to prevent duplicates in Infusionsoft, because since this information is going to come back to Infusionsoft on the back end, I want to make sure that they don't put a different email address, for example, than the email address I have on file for them, or that I sent this email to. So when I know what your email address is in particular, then I want to pre-populate that in my Gravity form so that when it comes back, it still uses that same um, email address. So that's why I care about pre-populating. And there are really two ways that I can pre-populate that form. One is with an automation link in my email, and then the other is a query string appended to a website link. So I'm going to show you the automation link. I actually did not have time to pull the code to get the, we'll see if I can, if we have time, to get the email off the logged in WordPress user, but we're going to at least do the automation link, and that should give you a pretty good idea of it. So let's go over here to Infusionsoft. And I have this very ugly form that are, sorry, this is, am I still logged in? I hope. This is an email template made in templates called test gravity form link. And in the email body, what I had done is I created a where are those? They're here. An automation link. I can just show you here because it'll be easier. So I had created an automation link called Gravity Form Link when I created that template right there. And where it goes is just to a page on the website called Test Link. Okay. And when I set up the link in the, close this, when I set up the link, of course, in the email, which actually I guess I can do here. Right? If you follow this link and you said link, the key, of course, is then here in the link to say place the person's details at the end of the URL. Okay, so now I have an automation link that has a query string at the back end of it. And when you do it this way, if you've never paid attention to what's in that query string, it's a lot. I mean, it sends a ton of stuff. First name, last name, email, contact ID, address, phone number, company, all kinds of mess. It's a long query string. So you can get a lot at the end of these, okay? So it's saved so that I could use it elsewhere in case we needed it. And then follow this link, okay? So I also then have a form, which is set up as a Gravity form on the website. So if you look at over here, it's this form, it's the quiz form, okay? And so if we look at the quiz form, this is the one I'm going to be sending people to, but this also gives you a chance to kind of look at the quiz form. So I threw first and last name on here. I've got email address now, and then a couple of quiz questions. This is for their using their quiz functionality. Let me just show you this because I think this is really quite good. So these quiz questions, by the way, if I pop these down, so here you've got your different types of quiz questions, your quiz answers. This is how you mark which one is the correct answer. You can randomize them. You can make them required. If you say enable answer explanation, this allows you to, if they get it wrong, you can either do either way, right? Correct or incorrect. And it tells them, why the answer, why the right answer is the right answer. Take that back off. But then over here, you got the same stuff that you had before, right? So that's kind of how the quiz stuff works. And then when you go up here to form settings now, because it's a quiz, you're using quiz questions. You've got a quiz settings. And so this is, so you can say shuffle your quiz fields, give them instant feedback. That's where you tell them what the correct, why the answer was whatever. You set up your grading, pass, fail, letter or none, pass percentage, and then, some stuff when they pass or fail. So now you've got like this little quiz. But now let's go over, oh no, sorry, not there. Let's go back to the form editor. So what I did here on this email, because this is really kind of the one that I care about for now, assuming that this could be a new person that comes to my website to take the quiz, or it could be someone that I directed there from my website and I know who they are. So what we did here is we said, all right, on the advanced tab, on the advanced tab, I said, allow this field to be populated dynamically. And I put the parameter is email with a capital E. And that's because when we look, you'll see that in the query string that Infusionsoft sends off of that automation link, that's what it'll say. It'll say email equals, and then whatever comes after that is going to be their email address. So this allows me to pre-populate their email address so long as they're coming off of something from Infusionsoft where we have a query string. And if not, it'll just be blank, and they'll fill it in, and they'll be a new contact if they weren't already in the database. The other thing I did, and then I took it off, so it's gone. But initially I said, hide this field if email contains an @ sign, meaning there's something in the email field, right? But then I realized that I couldn't show it to you if I had it hidden, so I undid that. And so here's my little form, and to show you how you get it in case you've never worked with it, to show you how you get it on a page, for example, is quite easy. So if I come over here to pages, all pages, and I say, I think it says test, actually. I'm not sure it's going to come up with that. Yeah, it is. Test link. Okay. So this is the page that I created if I say edit. On your pages, now there's this little add form button. I, by the way, have two different form plugins. This is Formidable, and this is Gravity Forms right here. So when you say add form, it says, okay, which form do you want to add? And then you just say whichever one that you want. It gives you a couple little check boxes, and you say insert, and it puts the little shortcode there for you for that form. So that's how we got the quiz. And this is what we need. This is the reason I brought you here. So this is the URL of the page where my quiz is. Okay. So if you look at then my email sends you to this page, and it says append contact information to the back side of it. So let's go look at the email that went out. I've actually already sent it to myself. I sent it as a test, and here's my link. And if I click this link, it's been taking a little while because goofy internet in the country. Come on. Perfect. Okay. So here's my form on the USPA website. And this is my quiz form, remember? And see how it's just picking up the styles automatically that are on my website? If I look at this same format. Do I have it? I don't have it. In preview, I don't have it. It's just an ugly white form, but it's just kind of picking up my styles on the website. And so now here I am, and I say, okay, see, look. So it says, oh, your email is kim@kimsnyder.com. Well, how does it know that? Because here's the query string, you guys, up here. In fact, let's look at this entire query string just for fun. So, boy, that's small. Okay. And that's kind of chopped up, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so this is what gets passed over by Infusionsoft in that automation link. ID equals 1, first name equals Kim, last name equals Snyder, company, blah, 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 blah. And here's email. So I knew that, right? I had looked at this query string to see that it was email with a capital E. And that is why when I set up that email field and I said allow it to be populated dynamically, that I gave it that same email as the parameter. Ramona, so what's happening is right now, Ramona says she missed how we actually hooked Gravity Forms to Infusionsoft. Well, it's actually, yeah, just like make sure that we're clear. Right now, it's a link in an email that when clicked is taking you to the website and pre-populating the form with the email address of the person who clicked on the link. So the sequence is, if I can find kind of a neat way to write this out for you, is you've got email, right, which has an automation link with contact info appended, which gets sent to one of your contacts who clicks that link, which takes them to website page with Gravity Form, which looks at query string and pre-populates email field. Whoops. Because in the email field of that form, go back to this form, knowing what the query string was going to look like. Come on, come on. In the email, in the configuration of this email field, this is the only one that I set up to be pre-populated. I put over here, allow this field to be populated dynamically, and I put EMAIL because, again, that's what I knew was going to be coming from Infusionsoft. Where'd it go? Oh, here, right here. Okay, does that make sense? Good, excellent. So that's how we got this far. So we've gotten from an email to our website with a pre-populated field. Okay. Now, so if I was to go fill this out, of course, there's really, I don't have anything really on the back end of this that's very special, but I can say, George Washington and the North, and who knows what that is, and hit submit. And now there's my quiz. Okay. And it's just going to say, whatever, have a nice day. Oh, nope, it's going to say, oh, I passed, woohoo, 2 out of 3 answers. Okay, good point. Hang on, I'll do that. Ramona said, you just want this part, right? because, hang on, she wants this in the, you want this not in I assume you're talking about in the handout, not on the screen. Oh, on the screen, to the notes. Yeah, okay. So put them there. All right. Excellent. Okay. Oops, there's like no project code sample right now. Okay. Good. All right. And let me just go ahead and okay. So, Brian, great question. Brian says, will the quiz results be recorded in Infusionsoft under their record? Not right now. It won't. There's no link right now between Infusionsoft going back the other direction. That's what we're going to talk about next. You can, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Or you could just say, you know, okay, well, it's really important that I store their score, or maybe it's just important that I don't even uh, store their score, but I just need to say that they passed or failed or that they took the test. So I could either, you'll see, I could either take some of this information and put it in fields. I could use the contact notes, that big, huge, tab, which I use a ton, with a timestamp to say, they took the test and they passed or they failed. I could use it to set a tag. I can do all kinds of stuff with it, but that's coming up. We just haven't quite gotten that far yet. Okay. All right. Good. All right. Now, the other way we could do this, and I don't know if you guys want me to hack around this or not, but the other way would be a website link. So let's imagine that somewhere else on our website, for example, on a different page on our website, we had a link taking them to our form. But again, because we're logged in, it's like, well, we know who you are. Obviously, you're Case Snyder, so shouldn't we go ahead and pre-populate that from the link in the form? So there's a WordPress function here called get current user info, right? Which gets information pertaining to the currently logged in user and puts it in the global variable current user. Now, you guys who were in my PHP class, this is going to be so awesome, because check this out. Remember when we did, yeah, remember when we did like server and request and post and get and stuff, and like there was that big, and there's that big old array that had all those values in it that got populated. Well, get current user is basically the same thing. So so you can see how it works, and now you guys know how to write this. How about that? Right, so you can say this right here, get. You've got to start with this, which is a what, you guys? Sorry, but I'm just going to go back. Somebody, please, who was in PHP class on Tuesday, tell me what that is that you're looking at right there. What am I doing? Awesome. There's one person knew. Yes, Richard, excellent. We're calling it a function. David, well done. We're calling a function called current user info right there, and then we're using a method here of user login or user email. That's what the little kind of looks similar to our API thing, right? With the little arrow, user email, and that is going to give you the part of the array that contains the user email, right? And you can echo it. You can assign it to a variable, and you could also put it in a query string. So again, I didn't take this all the way to its conclusion. I didn't have the time to actually sit down and write the code. I think for some of you who are in PHP class who are feeling kind of ambitious, this would be an awesome project for you right here, is to try to figure out how to get that email address, that email address for the logged in user over here into your pre-populated Gravity form. How about that? That's a really good assignment. It's not our code challenge, but it's a different one. Okay. Yeah, I can. The codex is right here. And I'll put this in the resources on the handout. Okay. Okay. So that would be the other way that you could get that thing pre-populated from a link already on the web. They're already on the website. It's not coming from Infusionsoft. It's coming from, in that case, from WordPress, because you know who they are. Okay. Okay, I think that about covers that way. Any questions on that before I move on? No? Alrighty then. Jason, it shows that you've got your hand up. Is that because I didn't put it down before when you raised it for one of my questions, or are you actually wanting to ask a question? Oh, your hand just went down. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's talk about going the other way. How much time do we have? Okay, just an hour. All right. So once we have a form filled out, how do we get the information that we want back to Infusionsoft? Well, again, there's two ways. Okay. The first way is the same way we got it from Infusionsoft to Gravity Forms, and that is to send it back to Infusionsoft with a query string. And like I said, we can do that up to 2048 characters. So we're going to do that. The other way would be to let's just say that we have 50 questions, in our survey or our quiz, and they're essay questions, they're going to be way over 2048 characters. Or maybe it's information that's confidential and you don't want to expose that to a query string where anybody could see it. Or I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why you might not want to do that right that moment. So you can do this. What we're going to do is we're either going to, in the confirmation, we're going to send over a query string to a script. So this is the equivalent. This is the same thing we do in Infusionsoft, where we make the thank you page a script and then redirect them after the script to a real thank you page. We can either make that confirmation URL this URL of a script and append a query string that just has like their ID or something, and then turn around and have the script query the WordPress database to go get the rest of the information out of the database, because that's where it's being stored, is just in a database. So that's and then that script would then from there go process that information and stick it in Infusionsoft. Okay, so that's actually the example I'm going to show you. But it's also possible that you might not do that at that moment, but then later that information's there, and so somewhere later down in the campaign you say, oh, I need that or whatever, and I go get it. So, but I'm just going to show you an example of like right then when the script is processed, we're going to go get the information out of the database or out of the query string and put it in Infusionsoft. Okay, so let's work with the first one first. Yeah, and by the way, this is where my preparation stopped. I have some of this written, but I do not have the rest of them written, so we're about to do the dang it method. I hope you guys are up for that. Okay, so we're going to start with this one. So let's do this. Let's change our form here. Let's stick with this form. This is our quiz form, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's go up here to confirmations, because there's not a lot of data in this one, right? So this is something that would potentially qualify for a query string. So in our confirmations, we're going to go over here and we're going to edit. And I'm going to say that now we don't want text, we don't want a page, we want to redirect. Now, where are we going to redirect to? Well, that's a great question. What we're going to need to do is I'm going to do it like this. Where's my code editor? Come on. So I actually have some stuff written here, but what we're going to do is we'll come back to that later. Okay. So this is called Gravity to IS old with dashes in it, and it's sitting on mysnyder.com scripts. Okay. So I already know that I've got this thing, so this is the one I'm going to use. Gravity to IS old. So it's going to be http mysnyder.com/scripts/gravity to is old.php. Perfect. All right, so that's the URL where we want to go, and that's a PHP script. Okay, you saw that. And then what we're going to say is, and we want to pass the field data via the query string. So here's my little sample here. So what am I going to do with this? Well, first thing, I have a couple options. Let's see here. So you can just like scroll down here at all the merge fields, which are going to be in the title, quiz, client ID, the date. Don't want any of that, but there's some useful stuff right here. Form title, user email. So this is different. This is different than what they put in the field, this user email. This is the logged in user, if there is such a thing. Their display name, form title, form ID. So this I want form ID. Because this might be, every form has an ID and it gets posted in the database, as you'll see when we do that. But so I definitely think that might be helpful. So I'm going to say form ID. By the way, this is just like, you remember when we do the HTTP post snippets, you guys? And I said you can make them whatever you want as long as you know what they are and you ask for them correctly when you do the post. When you parse the post. So in this case, they don't even tell you, they don't even give you default, so you pretty much have to make them up. So yeah, so I want form ID, and I'm going to call that form ID. And then I also want, I was hoping that they would give us the score, but they don't. So okay, but I'm going to do entry ID also. So I've got to get a little entry ID equals, and then another little ampersand thing. And then we won't do too many more of these, but we'll do email for sure. See, there's an example of how their email equals. They have, so when you start talking about fields, they have like all this weird numbering system. It's not just the name of the field. And again, let's see. Yeah. Well, I guess I need their name, don't I? Okay, we'll do that. And so we'll call that fname equals, and we'll just do one more. I really wish I had their score. So we'll have to figure that out. We may have to, I've never actually tried to get the quiz score. I know we can, I just would have to figure out how we do it. Maybe have to calculate it or something. I'm just not quite sure. We'll have to look in the database and see. So the last one is going to be last name. Last name equals, and we'll just, that's probably sufficient for what we're doing. So I'm going to say last. Okay, good. So what we just did is we built a query string, right, with merge fields, which again should be really familiar to everybody because they're kind of similar to what we do in Infusionsoft. And now when I say save the confirmation, Now let's do this. We need to grab this because we need to know what all these things are. So let's now go over to our script that we have here. Now, does anybody remember what kind of request it is when something is coming over in a query string? Wow. I'm like really proud of you guys. You were paying attention. Richard, not quite. Well done. Yes, yes, yes. Exactly. Yes, it's a get. It's a get. If it's a query string, if it's an action, it's going to be a get. If it's coming from a post snippet, it's going to be a post. So what are we going to write here in our script? We're going to say, I'm going to just put this in a comment here for a second so that we have it. Okay, so let's just go down here and let's just get these. So we're going to say form ID equals underscore get, and then bracket open, and what did we call that? Form ID, form ID. Oh, seems like something is not, yeah, no, that's right. Okay, and then how many of these do I, how many of these do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Nope, not what I was trying to do. That's where it just doesn't, things don't work quite the way I'm wanting them to. All right, entry ID, we need that, equals entry ID. And then the next one is email. And then the next one after that, yeah, email lowercase. Next one after that is first name. And then last name. Oops. Now, by the way, you guys, for those of you who, well, I was going to say for those of you who weren't in PHP class, look what you missed. No, no, all kidding aside. These, these are just variables that I'm creating here, and they can be whatever you want them to be. This part, the purple part, the variable names can be whatever you want. These, you decided what these were going to be when you created the query string. So, these have to be what they are because that's the left-hand side of the key value pair that it's going to go look for in order to find the value. This is the key, this is the value. You created that key when we just did the confirmation back there is where you created these keys. So this part, you have to get it right. This part you can name whatever you want. So now if we just echoed these, right, from this one, when it came to when the form got submitted and came to the script, these should just print out based on whatever value was on that form. Okay. So then, all right, so now in theory, if this all works the way we think it's going to work, right? What did we just do, by the way? We get values from query string. So we might even say get quiz values from query string. And then, so what are we going to do next? I don't know. What do we want to do with this stuff? Do we want to update? I would assume we want to update Infusionsoft with this stuff, right? So we don't actually have custom fields for some of these things, but we'll do something. All right. So any idea, you guys, what method you're going to use here to put this stuff into Infusionsoft? Hmm. Okay. Anyone else working on an answer? I actually don't think I would use any of those. So I got a bunch of different answers. I got quite a few people that said update, and you could, I mean that would work. Update would work. But what's the problem with update? What happens if someone came and filled out this form that wasn't already in Infusionsoft and you used update? What's going to happen? Kind of, Ramona. It's just not called that. It's not append. Peter, it's not load. Load is when you go and ask Infusionsoft what information is there for a particular contact. So I'll give you the answer. What I would suggest that we do is that we use something called add with dupe check, which is basically what add with dupe check says is if the person doesn't exist in Infusionsoft, I'm going to add the record, but if it does exist, I'm going to update it. So that's like better than update because that gets both scenarios. So if I go to add with dupe check and I look at that, and then I go back to my code editor here. So add with dupe check looks like this. Now, oh yeah, Camet would really, at this point, probably be useful if we had some Infusionsoft type boilerplate type stuff here now, wouldn't it? So let's do, where am I? Let's go find some of this stuff. I probably have some, ooh, no, I cleaned that all out. Uh, Here, any of these will have it. Perfect. Okay. Where'd it go? All right, so we're saying require once. Here's our app name. If we're going to use our sandbox, here's our little date with our new little date functions that you guys all did, right? And don't you guys feel smart now? Sorry, I shouldn't say that for those of you who don't want to rub it in for the people that weren't PHP class. All right, so we're going to do add with dupe check. All right, and so what does add with dupe check want? Well, okay, so this is what we're going to add. And then this is how it's going to check. And I always set this, you have three, if you look, you actually have different options here. Your options are uh, email and name, email name and company. I always actually just use email. For me, names just too unreliable. I have too many people with the same names in my at the USPA. I'm one of the few people who work with. I have so and so the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth all in my same database, living, playing the same stupid sport. So so for me that's kind of hard. Okay, but what I am going to do is I'm going to just take this out, you guys. So this is no, and we're going to put this in its own variable like this just to make this all easier. Get out of there like that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to say update, or whatever we want to call that, update equals, and then we're going to make that an array, and in that array we're going to say first name equals what? First name equals first name, like this. And then we're going to say last name equals last name, because remember up above we've already assigned those things to variables, haven't we? So last name, email equals, and then what else are we going to do here? We got some other things that we have to figure out where those things go. Now what you would, and I may leave these off, you guys, but what you would normally do with this, of course, is you'd put them in a custom field, or you could put them in I don't know. We could put them in spouse name, or we could put them in company, or we could, we can put them anywhere we want. But I just to save us time, because it's already almost 6 o'clock. I'm not going to do that. Is that okay? I mean, let me just ask you guys. Would you prefer that I put these in? Do you want to see that, or do you kind of get the idea that this is close enough? Okay. All right. All right. Then I'm going to, okay, good. All right. Thanks, Barb. Okay. So you get the idea. All right. So we're going to say we're going to update and we're going to, so in here we have to put update, right? Update. So we're going to update these fields, but we're going to check first on email to see if it exists. If it does, we're going to update. Otherwise, we're going to add it. And then that's about it, right? So, and then we could, from there, we could go do all kinds of things, right? We can add tags. Now, from here, so this is always a question too for me. Like I have a tendency to just, I mean, I'm here, I'm writing the code. So, I'm just going to add the tag here with the API rather than now, you know, going to the campaign builder and I mean, I'll do some things in the campaign builder, but and it also depends too. Am I writing for me or am I writing for my client? That's a really big consideration here because the client is going to want to be able to go someday change those tags or something or another. So I will put those in a campaign builder for those of you who are consultants. But, if it's for me and it's in my app, I'm just going to go change the tag whatever in the code. So I have a tendency, as long as I'm writing a script, I might as well just keep going and I might as well just process and write it however I want. But for now, we're just going to stop here and say, well, this is good enough. We're going to get the information in Infusionsoft, and that's something. Although, you know what we should do though? Uh-oh, I've got an error on line 25. Oh yeah, missing a. What we should do is probably write something to some field though, just so that you know it went in, because I am already in this database, I believe. So let's pick a. Let's what can we use? Let's pick. Oh yeah, this is what I want. Um, let's just pick a field that's like a text field of some sort. Um, city. I think that's just called city if I'm not mistaken. So let's yeah, it is because I think I've got it up here actually in my query string. Isn't it? Yeah. Phone 3 company. I could use company too. We'll do that. We'll put something in company. Here we go. All right, so do this. So we're going to just add one more field. So we're going to say company. Wow, it's getting dark. And one more time, I didn't turn the lights on. Company. Can't see my keyboard. We're going to make this a string. Oh, now this turned a color, you guys. How come? See how this turned black? What do I need to do here? Close, Peter. Richard's got it. Peter, you're close. You need to escape it. It's actually, Peter, you've got it turned around. You need to escape it with a, I don't know which one's forward and which one's back, but so it would be like this. Here we go. Okay. All right, great. And then, so we should be ready to go. So let's save this thing and, okay, and let's run it. Let's go to our form and let's submit our form. And let's see if this makes it in Infusionsoft. So our form is here. I think what we're going to do though is just, we don't need to do it from there. I'm going to save this and I'm just going to do it from the preview screen. And I'm going to say preview. And so I'm going to say, well, and we'll just change my name too. All right, and we'll I'll pretend like I don't know my history and submit. Now, the interesting thing is I didn't put a redirect in here to go to a thank you page, which I probably should have done. Anyone, oh, I failed. Anyone remember, oh, because I have a error. Oh, heck. What does that say? Expects parameter 1 to be a string. String position. Now, well, that's interesting. That doesn't have anything to do with me. But why did that break? You failed. I had 0 correct answers. Let's just see if that made it in there. I told you this was going to be the dang it method. This is, by the way, this is exactly how I figure all this stuff out. I did fail the quiz, but it really shouldn't care about that. Because it's a query string, it's not a query. But let's just go see what happened. Let's see if it's in Infusionsoft. Oh. No? I don't know. Let's just go see. I was thinking that maybe we, is this me? Yes. I don't think it made it. I think it failed before that. Yep, it did. Okay. So that did not make it through there. All right, let's see what we got here. So what we're saying is, well, that's good. They'll give us a second to put a redirect on there too. Let's go to the form editor here. Okay, so we have our form, which in theory I have saved. And we have our form settings. And by the way, if this takes too long, I may keep going and then because you figured out later. But let's just see what we got. Come on. Okay, form title, form layout, form buttons, restrictions, form options. None of that should affect this. Let's go look at notifications. Okay, that's just going to email me something. And then we have quiz settings. It really shouldn't be that because it knew I was a 0%. So but definitely whatever it was that it didn't like was in quiz.php. So alright, so the only thing that's left is this confirmation, which is where we redirect to the script. But it's not getting that far. So we're saying redirect here, but it failed before that. So let's just do this. Let's try two things. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my form. I'm going to get out of this form and make sure it's saved. And now I'm just going to go over here. And I'm going to try to take this from here and see if I get a different result. Oops. And then, oops, let's, oh, it's probably not going to like that. And then this, and then submit. See what happens. Okay. So now this is interesting too. All right. Because this didn't redirect. So this gave me my results, right? But it did not redirect. Now, why did it not redirect? So let's do this. Let's just say quickly, form settings. I want to just take this query string out for a second. And let's just see if what happens. Some part of me just wonders if on a quiz you can't redirect, but I mean it would have to tell me that, and it doesn't. So back here, redirect. If I I mean, that just doesn't make any difference. Let me see what happened. Let's just, let's do this. I know that didn't work. Nope, that did not work. Okay. So for whatever reason, now gravity forms is just not, it's like it's not paying attention to my redirect somehow. I think it's because it's a quiz. Which may be, so let's just try this, you guys. Let's make this not a quiz, and let's just see if we get the same result. And then I may drop it if we don't. All right, so let's edit this sucker. So we're gonna get rid of some of these quiz fields and just use some like normal fields. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. We didn't use those in our query string anyway. Get rid of that. So all we have is first name, email, and then add a date. We'll add today's date. Whatever. All right, we don't need that. That's good enough. Say update. Okay. So now so the quiz settings are gone. The confirmation is still there. All of the fields that we have are still valid in our confirmations. So let's go see what happens this time. Let's see if that changed the outcome at all. Default, form entry, email, etc. Because I really want to do this database thing. I'd love to like have this solved for you before we leave, but I really want to get to the database. All right, so we're going to go here to our page. We're going to go back. We are going to so now we're going to see the nice date picker it puts on there. I mean, it's like, you know, it just makes everything so easy. Mickey Mouse 125, submit. What do you mean? You can't take me there. Go back. Let me hit the cache again. Let me just refresh this. Oh, you know what? I did kind of forget that I have caching on this site too. I should probably turn that off. That'd probably be helpful. Oh well. Try it again. Alright. This is going to be my last try, you guys. And then we're going to move on and we'll come back to it, or I'll send it to you or something. Yeah, I'm stuck for some reason now. I'm stuck on this stupid quiz thing. And I think that's our problem, actually. I think if I did this from a different, if I had done, for whatever reason, it's insisting that it's going to give me my quiz results, whether I want them or not. It's kind of like it's ignoring my redirect, and I don't know why. So let's do the database thing, and then we'll come back to this if we have time, because I definitely want to get this other thing covered. So hopefully you guys are okay with that. Now, so let's look at this. This is going to be kind of the same idea. So remember I told you that that this puts the information in a database, puts it in your WordPress database, in fact. So for this site, the WordPress database is K Snyder My Snyder, and the prefix is WP1. So if we go down here and look, so this is like, over here, things like here, WP1 comment meta, WP1 comments, links, post meta, and posts. So this is all actually, these are your WordPress tables. This is where all the information in your WordPress site is stored. But the thing that you should know is that a lot of these plugins will also create tables for themselves, and you can get to those tables in the same way that you can get to any other table, right? So if I look here under RG WP1 underscore RG underscore lead underscore detail, this is actually this is where it is storing the results of my forms. Now you'll notice that what you're looking at right here is the results of that II form, because those were the first ones. And I don't know how many of, but so here's my Mickey Mouse submissions here at the bottom. And you can see here that so each time I submitted it, each um, each line is, got an ID. Each submission, each form basically has an ID, that's the lead ID, and then the form itself. These are all 4s, which was my quiz, and these are all 1s, which are the interscholastic intercollegiate form. And so you've got IDs, and then you've got basically, your field numbers and your answers. So if I wanted to get to this, and again, I kind of need to make this work, but we'll do it this way. If I want to, what I want to do now is I want to say, let's get rid of this stuff. I might need some of that later, but let's get rid of all this. Let's just comment that out. Okay, and then let's go here, because this is the part I'd actually already worked on before you guys got here. So this is, we didn't do this in PHP class, but this is like the newfangled way of connecting to a database. This is called PDO. This is that object-oriented thing. And so this should look familiar for those of you who are in class. We're instantiating a new object, which in this case is a connection to the database. Here's all the information to connect to the database. We're preparing the query. Then we're going to, this is what makes it safe, by the way. This is this whole binding process. And then we're going to fetch. And then once we go fetch the results, then we're going to print them, because it's going to be a query, right? So without doing, right now I've hard coded this stuff in. Contact ID and form ID both equals to 1. And then we'll change this to a post here, or a whatever, in a second. So yeah, so let's just look at this. Let's just run this. If I say save, let's see what this looks like. So this is querying the database where the II form is being submitted. So let's make this bigger so you guys can see. This should look pretty familiar to those who've been in class for a while. These are arrays that we printed with printar. And so remember what we asked for. We said, show us, select everything from that table where the lead ID is 1. So basically, that means user 1. Okay? So, but you see what happens here. So here's lead ID 1, ID 1, lead ID 1, form ID 1. That's the II form. Field number 55, and the value is 2. Then it'll say ID 2, lead ID 1, because it's, so this is the second entry. This is still the same person, lead ID 1. It's still the same form, but now it's a different field. It's 49, and it's yes. And then now you're starting to get down into some other things. Field 10 is Drita Dog. The name of the team is the Devil Dogs. The type of the team is the Interscholastic Open. So see what's happening is literally like for each field, basically, each answer, each field, you basically get one row in an array, which is, you kind of need to know that to be able to figure out how to pull these things and get what you want out of the database, or you'll just loop through it and find it. Here's the value, etc. Okay, so this is actually what I've just pulled here is one II form submission. Now let's just say we didn't want to send all that mess over in a query string, because it's too much and it's too confusing. So what I wanted to do instead was I wanted to, when the form was submitted, I wanted it to send me over just the things I need to do the query, which would be what? Contact ID 1, we'll just say, which contact ID is actually, you see this? I'm calling it contact ID because I know that's what it is, but really in the database it's called lead ID. So let's just see if we can make this one work. Okay, so what we're going to do, here's what's going to happen. They're going to submit a form. The form's going to send to my script the lead ID. The lead ID, it's going to then go to the database and say, okay, show me the record of lead ID 1, bring that back to the script, and then write it to Infusionsoft. So it's pretty close to what we had before. Oh, look at that. See, it's still got that same error. Which has to do with the string. It's pretty close to what we had before, except that now we're going to query it out of the database instead of just trying to send it all over in a string. And rather than using this form, because I've messed this form up, obviously, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new form. Okay, so we'll just make this pretty simple. Okay, so we're going to say form title database test. Okay, I got 10 minutes to get this done. This is going to be a challenge when you're sleepy. All right, so here's I'm going to make a new deal. And all I'm going to put on it is I'm going to put name. Come on. And I'm going to put email, because I need that. And I'm going to put, oh, I don't know, phone number. Okay, and that's going to be the sum total of our form. We're going to go over here to our form settings, no, to our confirmations. Oops, stay on this page. Got to save that first. Update form. Okay, we're going to go now, form updated. So now we're going to say confirmations. We don't care about notifications. We're going to say confirmations. And over here in the default confirmation, we're going to say redirect. In the redirect we wanted, we're going to use the same script that we had before, just http mysnyder.com/scripts/gravity to is old.php, and then we're going to pass a query string, and we're going to make it a simple string, because the only two things we're going to pass is we're going to pass over, for now, just for fun, we're going to pass form ID, and we're going to pass over form ID equals, and we're going to pass over, oops, lead ID. And lead ID equals Where are you, lead ID? Okay. Entry ID, contact. Oh, I guess I don't really know that, but I should be able to pass that. Form title, form ID, entry ID, post date, client IP. What? All right, well, we'll use email address for then. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to get their lead ID, but okay, we'll use email. All right, so I got the form and the email. All right, so I got to change my script a little bit. Okay, I'm going to save this email, lowercase. Let's change this just a hair. Instead of searching on lead ID, I'm going to search on email. Where email I got to think this through now. So they're going to call that. They're going to say, I'm going to just keep, I don't know, because I'm going to run out of time here. So my brain's tired, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say form ID, because that's the one I know right now. Form ID. And I'm going to make this form ID. And I'm going to go like this. Form ID. Okay. Here we go, you guys. Form ID and form ID. All right, this is not exactly how you do it because you'd really want to get more specific than what I'm doing, but I just don't have time to sit and put in all these query variables. Okay, so hopefully this is going to work. Hopefully I have not messed this up. Form ID, form ID, form ID equals a variable called form ID, and then, oh, I can't set that, can I? That'd be bad. Get rid of you guys. And then, so we're going to try, then we're going to fetch, and then we're going to print it. And then for now, we'll just do that much. And then we'll look at, if we get it to print, then we will put it in Infusionsoft. So let's start with this, save, let's go to the confirmation, let's submit our page. I'm going to just hope it will do this from preview. So my name is now Daffy Duck. Daffy. KimSnyder.com, and my phone is. Okay, if I hit submit, please work. No rows returned. Okay, now look at this. So this is interesting, you guys. So it worked. And this is a great example of error catching because look what I did, which like I don't usually do. I said else if it fetches and finds no rows, say no rows returned, which is what we got. So let's see, why didn't we get any rows back? So this is what it returned back to us. It went to the script and it said form ID is 20. Form ID is 6 and email is Daffy. And form ID has a capital I. That's why. Form ID has a capital I where oh, that's why. Sorry, here we go. We didn't grab this. We got to grab this first. So we got to go, we have to go get. We have to say form ID, equals, you guys following? Every time I start to do this, like where I'm like programming on the fly, I feel like you guys are like probably just drumming your hands on the desk thinking, yeah, this is like so boring. But I'm just gonna keep going here because I assume you wanna. So what was this? Form ID, like that, and like that, and then with this. So we have to get that, right? Because from the post, because of course it can't return a row because we didn't return it any form ID, so it doesn't know what to query. So we're gonna say we're going to say, so this is kind of form lowercase f capital I, so that's right. So we're going to say set form ID to that, whatever's in the query string. Then we're going to go to the database and we're going to say select from lead detail where form ID equals form ID. Okay, hopefully that's all going to work. And then print it out. Let's try it again. Save that. Yeah, I know you're not going to work. Okay, so let's go. Let's try this again. Let's just, all we should now be able to do is do like this and resubmit that same string, hopefully. No? What do you mean no rows were returned? Okay, I know that you should be in there now. Form ID is 6. Oops. Form ID. See, the other thing that I would tell you guys is that it's kind of helpful at this point, you know, like to have some tools. So this is like MySQL, which is a free deal. You can do this from PHP My Admin as well, which is like to look inside your databases, right on your web host. It's called PHP My Admin. It's right in cPanel. But if you can see this, which I'm not sure that you can or not, no, I can't make this bigger. But here's Daffy Duck. He's in there now. So I've got a logic error, but at least I know Daffy's in there, and he's got form ID 6, form lowercase underscore ID. So either I'm getting, which is getting past, where form ID equals form ID, and that should all be right. It should be returning Daffy Duck at this point. I'm not quite sure why it's not. Let's do this. Let's hard code. When all else fails, which by the way, I'm breaking my cardinal rule with you guys, which is right to code in chunks and make sure everything works before you try to do this all at one time. Let's try this, see what happens. See, when I hard code 6, so this is the interesting. So when I hard code 6, it gets it. It goes and it finds Daffy. But when I am trying to get it from the query string, I'm missing it. It's not. So the whole problem with my whole script is just this right here. And it's got to be a get. It's got to be form ID. And so let's try this. I'm so close. I'm so close to this. So let's cheat and let's say request and see what happens. No rows returned. Am I just reading this wrong? Form ID, form ID. Okay. It's 6:28 and I'm not gonna have time to solve this for you guys. So here's what I'm gonna do, because I don't want you guys to have to watch this any longer. It's like excruciating for me. Peter is saying there was a gap in what? In the PHP, you mean, Peter? Because PHP doesn't care about, or are you saying in the confirmation? Because I mean, this is coming over fine, right? This is, if you look at this is what we would expect to have right here. This is your query string. Perfect. Form ID right here. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, good catch. You're absolutely right. There was a space, and that's it. %20. Peter, good catch. Peter saved the day. Yay, you guys, look. Well, I don't see it now, but yes, I do. That was the whole problem. Do you guys? Great job, Peter. He saw it. Save. Look, now it's going to work. It was putting a space in there because I put a space in there. Silly me. Okay. Great. Now, take this. Now we can put our get back. Now this is going to work. Okay. Cool. See, I'm going to blame it all on you, Peter. Why didn't you say that earlier? Oh, come on. I know you're going to work. It's not working now. Come on. Oh. This is where I start to get like befuddled. Wait, where'd it go? Here. Refresh. Refresh. Oh, because I have to. I know, because it's still there. I know. I don't want to resubmit the form, so I'm just going to cheat and take that out. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is good. One more time. So here's what I'm going to do really super quickly. So we're going to take this. All right, so now here's what we've got, you guys, because there was a lot and you've probably like lost track. So it's sending this query string. It's sending over the form ID, which I am then going to this script and taking that form ID out of that query string with this get and using it then to query the database for form ID equals 6, which is not as specific as you would normally get, but to save time. And it's then coming back with all the rows that match form ID equals 6, okay? Which is great. So we now have information back in a variable called result, okay? In an array actually called result, which we can, as you can see, loop through for each, and then we're printing it. But what we could be doing, of course, is writing it, right? Writing it into another array that we were then going to use to update Infusionsoft. We're going to take all that data and stick it in Infusionsoft. So right here, what would happen here is this is where you put data in that I'm going to call it update variable. And then down here is where after we've gotten out of that is we're going to say then we're going to add with dupe check. Well, it's not going to be dupe check because we know it's already, yeah, add with dupe check. That's right, to Infusionsoft. Okay, perfect. So that's where that code would go. And then there's going to be one more piece when we're done with that. And that is going to be to do a redirect to a proper thank you page. Because you don't want them to see that all that stuff printed out on your page, right? So now you've got a redirect, because now you've gotten everything that you need. So now you want to do a redirect to that page. Does anyone remember how we do that? Anyone? Anyone? Because we're over time now. It was a header. We did, yep, good, you guys. Header. And then what did we say? We said location, and then we said, and then we put in the URL. So in this case, we might just say uspolo.org or something, or mysnyder.org or com or whatever, and then a semicolon. And so when it hits this, what's going to happen? It's going to redirect there. Okay, see you, Barb. I know, sorry, I went over. So let's just quickly save this. What you're going to see here is it's going to go to uspolo.org. But then when I run that, oh, syntax line 65. Dadgummit. I have some spelling something. Quick. Header, PHP header. PHP header. Trying to be quick and I'm making more time than header. Those are files. I want location. There, it's this. It's right here. It's this. Oh, I put my that's what it is. I put my things in the wrong place. This is okay. So we'll just go to mysnyder.com. Mysnyder.com like that. Okay. Really? Why are you? Oh, it's in the wrong place. Hang on. Here. Else echo here. Save. All right. Anyway, I have the skeleton for you. I'm gonna have to when I have a minute, I'm gonna have to sit down and do all this and get it all in the right place for you. I've got the skeleton. The echo is, yeah, I don't know. But of the idea, but just not, I didn't have all the code sorted. Now you can kind of see why it takes me so long for these classes to prepare for them, because I have to like sit down and figure all this stuff out and have the class working before, have everything working before class. And I did not have time to do that today, and I apologize for that. Um, but this was as close as I could get. So, what we're gonna do is I will, at some point, maybe this weekend, you guys. It's probably not gonna happen before that. I'm not gonna have time. But this weekend, I'll sit down. I'll actually put this all back together. I'll make it working code. I'll document it, so that you've got the idea what we're trying to do, and then, and then, you'll have that to play with. Now, I will say, though, let me just say this. The database thing is there and I have used it. That's what made me think of it. But truthfully, for the vast majority of stuff that you're going to do, you're going to just use the query string. Like why, unless it's just a monster amount of data that you're, because, the other thing is, while this is there and it is an option, the way they format their data is not super, user friendly either. It's not like it has nice names or anything like that. So the query string is definitely your friend. The query string is easy, and it is the way that I do, the majority of my moving of information back and forth between the two. Then you just grab the stuff in the query string and you do a add with dupe check, and it is actually pretty easy. This is actually not so easy. So especially because I'm working with a new way of doing databases that I'm not used to doing, because I'm trying to learn the newfangled, object-oriented stuff. So, but anyway, I hope that helped. I hope I didn't confuse you and or turn you off of doing this, because I really, really think it's a valuable tool for you. And as you saw, that first one that I showed you, I never even used any PHP, so it's just a redirect. So hopefully you've got value from that, and you've got some ideas. The other thing I will tell you, just real like that I didn't tell you, and I'm just going to 5 seconds to tell you this, but on the handout, you might be thinking, you know what? There's a plugin for this. I saw it at the top of that list, so I'm just going to use the stinking plugin. And honestly, I don't blame you for that, because you do, it's going to take you a while to figure this out. Once you learn it, though, it's better. But I don't want to. I will not use a plugin, and I'm just going to tell you why. It doesn't mean it's wrong to do it. I'm just telling you this is my reason, and this is why I struggle through all these things to get them figured out and then be able to use them. And in particular for a client site, this is so important to me that because whenever I use a plugin right now, this is a flaw in Infusionsoft. Other programs don't have this flaw. But until Infusionsoft fixes it, every time I give my API key out or my client's API key out, to me, I am exponentially increasing the security risk. And that is because since we don't have OAuth or any one of those methods that hides the key from people, you're actually giving them the key to your front door to people you don't even know, right? So when that developer, whoever it is, right, whether it's, the guys at Plus This or I remember 360 or whoever writes the plugin, for the gravity form thing, they have their API key. They could strip every single piece of data out of that app if they wanted to. And I'm not saying that they're going to, but I don't know where he stores it or how secure their server is or whether they're going to get hacked or who he gives access to or who he shares it with or any other thing for that matter. And so it's not that something's going to happen. It's just that every time I do, the risk of it happening increases. So that's bad. I'm losing control, right? Here, yeah, it's a struggle, but at least it's my struggle. Like I can control what I'm doing. I don't have to wait for someone if it breaks. But here's the other thing. Okay. This is it. I put stars around it. And this is so important for a client. So you guys imagine this scenario, because I've had this happen. So you've given your client, for those of you who are ICCs, you have given your client or your API key out to, let's say, 6 or 8 different plugin people. Okay. And now you have a scenario where someone who works for you, who had their key or potentially had their key is disgruntled, or you have to fire them, and they're a programmer or they're a something, and you're concerned about the fact that they had your client's API key. And so what you want to do is you want to go change the client's API key, which you can do, but guess what's going to happen the minute you do that? All of those things that are using that API key are going to break. And they will stay broken until you go reset the key and then put the new key on all of those things. And provided that you remember all the places where you have it, it's not going to be that long. But I mean, so anyway, and I'm not, I sound like I'm yes, it is in the con.config file, Ramona, but you have to actually plug it in. Like when you sign up for, plus this, for example, first thing they're going to say is give me your API key, put it here in this field. Same with iMember 360. Same with, any one of, 5 Time Trade or Time Fusion or Fuse, like all these API, all these things and add-ons that we use, every one of them asks for our API key. Big problem for me. I will use them when I have to, but if I can possibly figure a way around it, I think I'm doing my client a service in doing that, because I just think it's a security problem. So anyway, that's and Infusionsoft knows it's a security problem. Is it more secure in that file? Well, it's still there, but at least I'm the, for my client, at least now I'm the only one that they have to trust. They're not having to trust 20 other people. No, it is not secure in that file. It's only as secure as my server is, or their server is. If someone hacks that server, then of course they have that, API key. So you should never, ever, ever, ever show your API key to anybody, on the web or whatever. I, change my passwords after I show them to you guys in these classes. And, but it, and you might think, well, who cares? Why would anyone want my client's data? Do you have any idea what spammers pay for email lists, for example? Someone could make a huge business just pulling emails out of every Infusionsoft application and selling them to spammers with, where the app is just the front. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I don't want to get off on that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just think it's it's kind of an issue. I like figuring this stuff out. It's not as tedious to me as it looks, but it serves a real purpose. That's really how I got onto this in the first place. So yeah, their credit cards are in there. They are. Now in theory they're like, encoded, but still. All right, that's it. I'm done. I wish I had this code straightened out for you guys. I feel bad about that. But I'll get it to you over the weekend. Ramona, to answer your question, the PHP class, I assume you're talking about the videos, which I have not put the last one up yet either. I haven't had time. But yes, I will leave them up there for the foreseeable future. Yep. Okay, that's it, you guys. I am like so webinared out. I am not doing another webinar for 2 weeks. And I am going to do this one again in 2 weeks, but maybe by then I'll be back to my normal self. That's it. You guys are awesome. I really enjoyed time with you. And please don't forget, like, I really could use those reviews on the marketplace if you think it was worth doing. All right. Nice to have Sean. Nice to have you. And, we've had some new people today. Haven't seen for a while. So you guys take care. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will talk to you soon. Thanks.